day from the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston and Mission Control. You are looking at the moment at the Naoka Multipurpose Laboratory Module on the Russian segment of the International Space Station, on the Earth-facing side of the Russian segment. Just out of the field of view on the opposite side of that, on the space-facing side of the Russian segment, is the Poisk module, in which two Roscosmos cosmonauts, Expedition 73 Commander Sergei Ryzhikov and Flight Engineer Alexei Zubritsky, are suited up in their Russian Orlan spacesuits, undergoing a depressurization of the Poisk airlock, set to begin a planned 5-hour, 40-minute spacewalk, Russian EVA-64, to install experiments on the outside of the Russian segment of the station and to remove an old Canadian commercial camera system that has been aboard the station for a number of years. This spacewalk, again, the Russian Spacewalk 64, is the 276th spacewalk in support of ISS assembly maintenance and upgrades, the fourth spacewalk out of the International Space Station in 2025, the second spacewalk for Expedition 73 crew members. For Sergei Ryzhikov, a veteran cosmonaut, this will be his second spacewalk. His first totaled 6 hours and 48 minutes of spacewalking time. This will be the first spacewalk for Alexei Zubritsky. Ryzhikov and Zubritsky both launched aboard the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft back in April, along with NASA's Johnny Kim. They are scheduled to return to Earth on December 8th U.S. time, December 9th, for a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan. Also involved in today's spacewalk is Roscosmos cosmonaut Oleg Platonov. He is inside the Naoka Multipurpose Laboratory Module, set to operate the European robotic arm. That is the arm that you see very prominent in this field of view, a 36-foot-long robotic apparatus that will be used basically as a work platform, first for Ryzhikov to install a science package called the Molecular Beam Epitaxy Science Hardware Complex on the outside of the Naoka module. And then later on, it will be the work platform for Zubritsky to jettison the camera system that he will be removing from the outside of the Zvezda service module as this planned 5-hour, 40-minute spacewalk continues. The space station at this hour is traveling 260 miles above the Earth, moving from northwest to southeast over the northwest Atlantic. All of the station systems are in good shape, and the other crew members not involved in today's spacewalk are also involved in other activities, including Zina Cardman and Kimiya Yui, NASA's Zina Cardman, and Yui from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Yui and Cardman will be at the controls next week when the new JAXA HTV X1, the new cargo craft for the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, arrives at the station. It is scheduled to launch from the Tanegashima Space Center in southern Japan next Monday night. We will be providing live coverage of that launch, and it will be arriving at the station on Friday, October 24th, for an automated rendezvous where it will be robotically captured by Yui, backed up by Cardman from the cupola workstation inside the station, as they will reach out with the Canadian-built Canadarm2 to grapple the HTV-X1 and then hand the robotic chores over to robotic ground controllers, who will mechanically install and bolt into place on the Earth-facing side of the Harmony module of the International Space Station for a planned 3-month stay for that brand new cargo ship that JAXA has been working tirelessly to develop, and which is now ready for launch from Tanegashima next Monday night U.S. time. As far as the spacewalk is concerned, the two cosmonauts, Ryzhikov and Zubritsky, suited up in their Russian Orlan suits a few hours ago. They made their way inside the Poisk module airlock, began the depressurization of that airlock in a two-step fashion about 35 to 40 minutes ago. They reported good leak checks with their Orlan suits. These are 2 brand new Orlan suits that were flown up on a recent Progress resupply mission by Roscosmos. They will be opening the hatch somewhere in the neighborhood of about noon Central Time, maybe about 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the start of their spacewalk. They're running a few minutes behind schedule with their preparations, but no harm, no foul as they prepare to float out into the void of space to begin their work day. This spacewalk, again, the 276th in support of space station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. In addition to the primary task of the installation of the molecular beam epitaxy experiment on the outside of the Naoka module, again, Sergei Ryzhikov will be riding at the end of the European robotic arm for that task. They will then work in tandem to remove from the Zvezda service module the high-resolution camera optical telescope. This high-resolution camera was a commercial endeavor by a Canadian entrepreneurial company that was installed during 2 Russian spacewalks in December of 2013 and January of 2014 by Oleg Kotov and Sergei Ryazanskiy as part of that commercial endeavor. That commercial camera system has now completed its work, and so it will be removed and jettisoned later in today's spacewalk by Zabritsky, whose feet will be planted in a foot restraint on this portable workstation at the end of the European robotic arm. It will be jettisoned retrograde from the International Space Station with no chance for recontact with the station itself as it makes its way slowly but surely to a safe distance away from the station, ultimately to burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. That camera system that will be jettisoned by Zabritsky later in today's spacewalk weighs about 180 pounds. It is 2 feet by 4.6 feet by 2.3 feet. He will be holding on to what is called the monoblock. That's basically the case in which the camera is installed. And he will be jettisoning it retrograde from the station later today, the only item scheduled to be jettisoned during today's spacewalk. The 2 cosmonauts will also be cleaning one of the windows on the outside of the Zvezda service module, and then at the end of the spacewalk, assuming time permits, they'll be removing an experiment cassette from the outside of the Poisk module that has housed a number of materials exposure experiments over the past several months.
Copy. And the current pressure? 0.081, 0.082. Okay, let's wait another 15 minutes.
The 2 cosmonauts in the airlock in the Poisk module on the space-facing side of the Russian segment are in the process of breathing pure oxygen to cleanse nitrogen out of their bloodstreams. This is a common practice for all spacewalks, whether on the U.S. side or the Russian side. The procedure is designed to, again, purge the bloodstreams of the spacewalkers of any residual nitrogen and prevent any condition known as the bends or decompression sickness from occurring when they step out into the void of space. The Russian spacewalks are measured in terms of elapsed time from the moment of hatch opening on the Poisk airlock to the time of hatch closure. It's hatch opening to hatch closure to measure the elapsed time of a Russian spacewalk, unlike those conducted from the Quest airlock on the U.S. segment of the space station, whose elapsed time is measured from the time that U.S. extravehicular mobility units are placed on internal battery power until those spacewalkers are back inside the Quest airlock and to begin the repressurization of the airlock itself. So we'll be waiting for confirmation from Russian flight controllers that you see there in this view from the balcony camera in the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Korolyov outside of Moscow, who will be providing us with the official start and stop time of today's spacewalk for the record books. After Ryzhikov and Zabritsky make their way outside of the Poisk airlock, the first order of business after opening the hatch will be for the two cosmonauts to install a protective ring around the hatch itself. This is a precautionary measure to ensure that the hatch is protected from any inadvertent strikes from particles, to maintain a pristine condition for that protective ring around the outer circumference of the hatch itself. First out of the hatch will be Zabritsky. He'll be carrying a crew lock bag filled with tools and other items associated with the tasks on tap for today's spacewalk. He'll be followed a few minutes later by Ryzhikov. Again, Ryzhikov with one spacewalk to his credit, that having been conducted several years ago, a 6-hour, 48-minute spacewalk back in November of 2020. This will be Zabritsky's first spacewalk of his career. During the course of today's spacewalk, we also are expecting helmet camera views from both Ryzhikov and Zabritsky to provide us with an up-close and personal view of the work that they're outside of the Russian segment of the station. Again, you're looking at the Naoka multipurpose laboratory module just on the field of view up top in this camera view from external cameras on the station is the Prishal module. That's the node module, a multi-hatched extension of Naoka, to which the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft is mated, having docked to Prishal back in April of this year. The Naoka multipurpose laboratory module with the European robotic arm attached to it was launched and arrived at the station back in 2021. Was subsequently outfitted over the course of a number of spacewalks. The European robotic arm launched along with Naoka, and again was activated and checked out over the course of a number of spacewalks, and has been used rather continuously for operations regarding science payloads outside of the Russian segment of the station, as well as transporting cosmonauts during spacewalks hither and yon along the various work sites on the outside of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. This is a busy time aboard the International Space Station in addition to today's spacewalk. Again, next Monday night, U.S. time, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency is scheduled to launch an H-3 rocket from the Yoshinobu Launch Complex at the Tanegashima Space Center in southern Japan. That launch will carry the new HTV X-1, the X standing for exploration. That is a brand new cargo ship that JAXA has been developing over the past several years, loaded with about 4.4 tons of food and supplies and experiments for the International Space Station. The HTV X-1 will be sent on a 3-day journey to arrive at the International Space Station on Friday, October 24th for an automated rendezvous following a number of checkout tests of the system's capabilities of that brand new cargo ship. This is the successor to the HTV, the legacy HTV that flew 9 missions of resupply to the International Space Station from 2009 through 2020. There is another Russian spacewalk that is on tap for October 28th by Ryzhikov and Zabritsky. That one, Russian EVA-65, will be the installation of a number of other science payloads on the outside of the station and the cleaning of other windows along the Naoka multipurpose laboratory module and relocating the control panel for the European robotic arm from one base point to another to provide more easily accessible capability for future spacewalking cosmonauts to reach that control panel. All of this activity we will continue to provide live coverage of next Monday night for the HTV X-1 launch from Tanegashima, the arrival of that new cargo ship to the station on October 24th, and the next Russian spacewalk on October 28th. Meanwhile, it's all quiet inside the Poisk module as the depressurization to vacuum of Poisk continues. We're expecting to hear more from the cosmonauts shortly as they will conduct communications and Orlan suit systems checks with the flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside of Moscow. Here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers on console, led by Flight Director Garrett Hayne, who is monitoring activities both outside the station and inside, where other work is being conducted by the other crew members of Expedition 73. To his right, at the top of your screen, is spacecraft communicator Matthew Dunn, who is talking to the expedition crew inside the station when required throughout the course of the day's activities today.
Initial position check of controls. Okay. Putting 9.1 in work. O2 flow selector off. Regulator off. Copy. All right. Regulator primary for first, secondary for EV2. Tank primary. Tank primary. Copy. Primary fan, primary vent on for EV1 and EV2.
Sergei Ryzhikov, who is the space station commander at this time, will be wearing the Orlan suit bearing the red stripes as EV1 or extravehicular crew member number 1. His spacewalking partner, Alexei Zabritsky, is EV2. He'll be wearing the Orlan suit bearing the blue stripes today. The International Space Station is flying from northwest to southeast over the South Atlantic, just to the west of South Africa at this hour, about 260 miles above the Earth. All of the station's systems are in good shape, and as you just heard and will be hearing over the next several hours, the interpretation of the conversations between Russian flight controllers and the two cosmonauts as they conduct their spacewalk today. Again, as previously indicated, we're running about 15 minutes behind the planned timeline. The spacewalk scheduled to last about 5 hours and 40 minutes. Once again, the tasks to be conducted today by Ryzhikov and Zabritsky include the installation of a molecular beam epitaxy science experiment on the outside of the Naoka multipurpose laboratory module. This experiment is designed to grow high-quality thin films and crystals in the ultra-high vacuum of space, which can also be beneficial for the development of semiconductors. The two cosmonauts will be removing from the Zvezda service module and later jettisoning a high-resolution camera telescope system that has been operating for the past 11 years on the outside of the International Complex. They'll be cleaning at least one window on the exterior of Zvezda and removing a materials exposure experiment cassette from the outside of the Poisk module before they enter the Poisk airlock to complete today's spacewalk.
Copy, you have a go to open KSDSO manually. Copy, current pressure is 600. 605. All right, once you open KSD, you're monitoring the MV pressure and the Orlan pressure. Copy. Monitoring Orlan pressure with the Sky Orlan pressure gauge. All right, I am opening KSDSO. Copy. It's open.
The flight controllers in Korolyov were reporting as are the cosmonauts, that the pre-breathe of pure oxygen has now been completed. Again, this is a routine activity for all spacewalks to cleanse spacewalkers' bloodstreams from any residual nitrogen that might cause a condition known as the bends from occurring when they move out into the vacuum of space.
Should have it in the 035, 034. 470 is the pressure and 0.4 is the suit pressure. Copy. That is looking good. You are getting to the desired pressure in the suit. Alright, 300 is in the module. 0.039 is the suit pressure. Alright, and once you get to 350 on the MV, you can open KSD2 as an extra to KSD. So, copy, 350. 350 is the pressure in the module, and we're opening KSD2. Copy, KSD2 to open. It's open. KSD2 is open. Continue with deep press, and we can turn off the injector, right? Wait for the counter. Look at the right counter on the display. What does it show? 1 minute 40 seconds. Copy. Once you get to all zeros, that's when you can turn it off. Copy. And once you get to 340 millimeters,
$180.
180. Great. There was a short LOS. Tell me, what do you see on both suits? 039 for EV1, 038 for EV2. Copy. 155 is the pressure in the module.
As we monitor the conversations between the Russian flight controllers and the cosmonauts inside the Poisk airlock, once again this view of the Naoka Multipurpose Laboratory Module launched back in 2021 on a Proton rocket from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, and a very prominent view of the 36-foot-long European robotic arm. Affixed at the end of that robotic arm is a portable workstation that contains a foot restraint called the Yak foot restraint, to which Ryzhikov and later Zabritsky will be planting their feet at various times during the spacewalk to conduct their tasks.
Suit pressure is 0.38 and unintelligible 105. Copy. And MRM2. once you see pressure changes in MRM2, you should get a notification that MRM2 BSS should be put in O2 open EVA. Once you get both of you get the notification, do that. All right, EV1, I got the notification. Copy. EV1 got the notification. BSS O2 open EVA. Copy. EV2. 80 is an MRM2. And two pressures are inaudible. And once you get to pressure 20 for the MB, please put BSS open EVA. Copy.
And a different view of the Naoka Multipurpose Laboratory Module and the European Robotic Arm, which is in the correct configuration for the start of today's spacewalk, the time of which will be marked at the moment of hatch opening. At the top of your view here, from external cameras on the International Space Station, is the Prishal node module. And just out of the field of view is the Soyuz MS-27 spacecraft that will be the ride home for NASA's Johnny Kim, Ryzhikov, and Zabritsky on December 8th, U.S. time, December 9th, Kazakhstan time. Is the seat pressure for EV1 and 2. That's good. MRM2 pressure is 30, and EV pressures are holding stable. 36 is for EV2. That's good, Alexei. And we are standing by for 20. You can put BSS O2 open EVA once we reach 20 millimeters, and then we will be standing by for 12 millimeter mark. We are at 20, and I'm putting BSS in O2 open EVA. Copy. Confirmed.
Идем до 12.
And we're going down to 12 millimeters. When we get to 12 millimeters, we're going to put as the 2 to close position and then as the SO to close. Copy.
Sergei Ryzhikov and Alexei Zabritsky inside the airlock of the Poisk module that is out of the field of view from our cameras on the outside of the space station at this moment. They're in the final steps of the depressurization of the Poisk airlock. Just a few more steps to go before they open the hatch to mark the official start of today's spacewalk.
Это 14.
Copy. 14.
Это 14.